Hello. I honestly appreciate it, for you clicking this. It's amazing. There was this one video I did where it was like within like a couple hours or I don't know, 24 hours or something. I got 3 likes, and I'm like, wow, that's just awesome. So I seriously, truly appreciate anyone who clicks this, and obviously appreciate anyone who subscribes. Thank you very much for watching my just what's that word? Self-therapy video sessions. This is probably the third and final of my little September 2nd. These are all being recorded on September 2nd, 2014. This will probably be the last one for now because I'm getting ranted out. But this is a topic that I don't know if it'll go 15 minutes. Probably not. They always end up doing that anyway, so whatever. It'll be as long as it is. This is a topic that I thought something that I personally experienced and something that I think, I don't know, obviously nothing is going to be the same for every single person, but in my experience, this is what I experienced, which is the sooner you can have your midlife crisis, the better. I personally had mine when I was probably 24 years old, where I realized that, I was never going to, be anything. When I was a kid, when I was 11 and 12 and 13 and 14, I was just a huge movie buff. And my dream at that time, I made, ever since I got my hand on a video camera in 1988, I've been doing videos, and I've been making videos and short films and everything like that from like 88 all the way through 2009. Made my first feature in 2009, which I was proud of. Me and my dad basically did it for $2,000, and it's really cool. Well, I like it. It's a really cool horror movie in the vein of Sleepaway Camp and Friday the 13th and stuff. Actually had people from all over the world buy it. People on DVD from Italy, England, Canada, I think Germany. So that's just amazing to me. That when I was 12, I never would have imagined in a million years I would make a movie which is shot on video. I mean, it's $2,000. It's shot on digital video, but that I'd make this and put it on. People from Europe would buy it. Actually, I think the majority of the sales are from the UK. So when I was a teenager in my 20s, early 20s, late teens, all through my teens and early 20s and stuff, it was all about, I was honing my skills. I was making short videos and short films and stuff. I was honing my skills. That was my interest. That was my passion. I was honing my skills, and obviously wanted to make movies, But the thing is, commentaries are really cool in the sense that, you learn a lot. And obviously, as you get older, and and listen to more commentaries, you really realize that, movies are just a business, and they aren't like it is when you're a teenager and making movies with your friends, or making movies by yourself, or making movies with the help of your dad. And where you're doing it for the passion, you're not going to make any money. You're going to lose money on it, but you're doing it because you're for the passion, and you got this drive for the passion. I mean, movies aren't really like that. They're just corporate fucking, okay, superhero movies do good, so we'll just make it's that bullshit, and remakes, and just, it's numbers, it's a numbers game, and it's a business. So, that along with I don't live in California, you pretty much have to go to California to do movies, and just the more you learn that it's just like in Hollywood, it's just all nasty shit, and it's just, it's just a big cesspool of shit like Hollywood, and you learn this, I didn't necessarily know all that when I was 24, I've learned that since, but, long story short, I mean, when I was 24, I pretty much realized that, I wasn't going to make movies like for real, like for a career. So, at the time I had a girlfriend, and this guy that I talked about in one of my previous videos, People Mostly Disappoint, that would later on not show up for the fire, so I just ended up sitting down there by myself with the fire, going, oh. So, I had a job, at that time, I had a job, a girlfriend, and a friend. I mean, I was really set, at that time. That's pretty much, I had everything I wanted at that time, and I was really content. We had a fire, and I got this all on video and stuff in October of 2001. That's when I was 24. And that's when it hit me. I don't think I mentioned it in the video, but it was around that time, because we'd have a bonfire and we'd bring down the TV and play horror movies, Friday 13th and stuff. And the movie would just be on in the background. We'd be talking and stuff. And it occurred to me, I'm always just going to be working retail, And maybe that's selling yourself short, But I mean, the fact is, I'm not going to go to school. I hated school. I'm sure as shit not going to pay for school. I'm going to play as little of the game as humanly possible. That's my my goal for the rest of my life, is to play as little of the game as humanly possible, getting by with playing as little of the game as possible. And the game is, spend money on this fucking college bullshit in hopes that it's gonna lead to something and all that bullshit. I hated school when it was free. I sure shit ain't gonna pay for it. So that's not an option. And if I die when my dad died, I'm already over halfway through my life. So, but it was right around 24, or it was 24 probably when it hit me. And like I say, I had a girlfriend, a job, and a friend at the time, and it made it, having those three things made it, and obviously a dad, obviously he was still alive. And I had all that stuff that was really important to me. So it really was like a pillow, when I had my, I guess, what you'd maybe call quarter life crisis, but we'll just call it midlife crisis when I was 24, it made the crisis like I fell back and landed on that soft pillow of my dad being in my life, having a girlfriend, a friend, and a job, and it was really kind of beautiful that it happened right at that same time when I had all that cushion, so that's something that I experienced that I want to share with you guys, is that in my experience, the sooner you have a midlife crisis, or your midlife crisis, the better. In my experience, obviously, everything's going to be different for any given person. But I think my mom had hers at the midlife point, and I don't know, I wasn't paying too much attention, but I think, to me, in my mind, it seems like the further you go, maybe some poor souls even have it after the midlife. It seems like the further you go, the harder it is when it dawns on you that this is all there is going to be, and I'm never going to achieve this, I'm never going to do that. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, the sooner you realize it, the better. Maybe the softer the blow is. But I feel fortunate, in that regard. That's one of the few things I feel fortunate in, that I kind of had my midlife crisis really, early on. And like I say, am I selling myself short? I don't know. I mean, I had a 20 years of really being an interest in making movies, and 20 years of making, from 1988 to, I guess it was 21 years, 1988 to 2009, when I finished up that horror movie that actually sold around the world on DVD. 20 years of having a passion that I was developing, so I lived for 20 years doing that, and it was great to continually hone. I mean, in very short, little, whatever, turtle steps over the course of them 20 years, to slowly hone your skills and hone your style and practice your style and make all these shorts and everything, and all of those shorts led up to that, the final, my very first feature and possibly last feature and maybe last movie, 21 years later. So I mean, to me, just because it wasn't a profession, I wasn't making money off it, to me I look at it as a career, those 20 years. I look at it as having had a movie career. Just because, the movies aren't playing in the theaters and people aren't paying to see them, and doesn't mean you didn't make them, So I guess that's why I'm not necessarily very driven, because I had 21 years of being driven, and it all ended up in accumulating in that one big. The movie's 160 minutes long. It's an epic slasher, independent, $2,000, funny, horrific slasher movie in the vein of the early '80s slashers. And all that 21 years, everything I learned over that whole period, I put into that movie, and people like it. How can you do, better than that? That's it. I accomplished something. So, I guess I feel really good about that, and just because it's not a career that you would normally, what would be called a career. I'm not freaking J.J. Abrams or, Michael Bay. Well, to myself, in my mind I am, and that's what really counts. And if some people around the world got enjoyment from what I did, that's all I can ask for. So I would recommend, if you're young, seeing if you can try to have your midlife crisis as soon as possible, because it might make it easier. Again, that's just my opinion, but thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and gosh dang, this is so therapeutic to do this and to know that people are actually watching it. It's great, and I'm glad I'm doing this instead of paying someone $100 an hour who doesn't give a shit to listen, because I think you guys are watching. Maybe you even give a shit. I give a shit when I watch other people's videos, otherwise I wouldn't be watching. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you on the next video.